Racketeering by its very nature includes predicate offenses.
Yes, but you know what I'm asking you. I'm asking if the murder charge standing alone is included or excluded. And if I can give you an example to make it easy, Major General Booysen is charged with 7 counts, 2 of racketeering, 2 of murder, 1 of defeating the ends of justice, and 2 of violating the provisions of the Firearms Control Act. My question is a simple one. Does that charge exclude the 2 murder charges, the 1 charge of defeating the ends of justice, and the 2 charges of violating the Firearms Control Act?
As I said, racketeering by its very nature includes the predicate offenses. So it must include the predicate offenses as well.
Advocate Batohi, please answer my question. I am not asking you about racketeering offenses and its elements. I promise you I can read for myself. I'm asking you whether or not the independent charges of murder, the independent charges of defeating the ends of justice, and the independent charges of breaching the Firearms Control Act are included or excluded.
My answer to that is that it includes racketeering charges.
I know it includes racketeering charges because it says racketeering. I'm asking you if it excludes the charge of murder against Mr. Booysen.
It does not exclude it in the context of racketeering.
Advocate Batohi, I think we are going to be here for a long, long time if you don't answer the questions directly. We know racketeering, in order to establish, requires predicate offenses. That's not what I'm asking you. But I'm asking you is that Major General Booysen was charged independently of murder. Is it suggested in this charge that he should also not have been charged of murder independently of racketeering?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I can't, that's my answer, is that the predicate offenses are included in the racketeering charge. And so my understanding is that he would have been charged for those predicate offenses in the context of racketeering.
I honestly do not understand that. And let me give you a final chance. If you withdrew racketeering, Major General Booysen will still face a murder charge.
That's a different question, and I'll answer that now.
Yes,
so
now,
when I did withdraw the racketeering...
No, I'm not asking you to answer anything. I'm telling you the question that I'm going to ask you. Is 3.1.1 intended to suggest that Major General Booysen should not have faced the murder charge?
Not at all.
So you accept that he should have continued to face the murder charge or not?
Can I answer that question?
Yes.
After I decided to withdraw the racketeering charges, I sent all of the dockets back to the DPP KZN and asked her to consider each one of them and whether anyone should be charged with the predicate offenses outside of racketeering.
No, I still don't understand that. I'm asking you about the charge against Advocate Chauke. Whether or not you accept that there was sufficient evidence for Major General Booysen to be charged with the crime of murder or not? Or do you say there was also no sufficient evidence of the crime of murder?
On the basis of the decisions of the DPP KZN, after I sent the dockets there, she found that there was no evidence to justify murder charges against any one of the accused, except in the one docket. And that did not include Major General Booysen.
Yes, those are later decisions. I'm asking you about the decisions taken by Advocate Chauke. Is it the case of the NPA that Advocate Chauke erred in charging Major General Booysen with murder?
My understanding is that Major General Booysen was charged with racketeering and that those were the predicate offenses.
Yes.
And that is where we say Advocate Chauke erred in supporting racketeering charges.
Yes.
I beg your pardon, Advocate Ngcukaitobi. Is this question premised on the assumption that Advocate Chauke made a prosecutorial decision to charge?
Yes, I'm working now on the best case for the NPA.
That's why I'm asking the
Yes,
question,
no,
because all along, when we read the opening address, it seems to me that there was an issue.
Look at this. Stare directly at the screen and tell me you can feel anything but a cold fury building in your chest. Because right now, in this very moment, a fundamental question about South African justice is being dodged, obscured, and buried under bureaucratic silence. Advocate Tembeka Ngcukaitobi, a man who has built his career on piercing through lies, has thrown down the gauntlet. He is publicly challenging the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Shamila Batohi, to do one simple thing: to give a direct answer. A yes or a no. Did suspended Advocate Andrew Chauke, back when he was in charge, have sufficient evidence to charge former Kato Mana Detective Commander, Major General Johan Booysen, with murder? That's it. That is the entire question. But the silence that has followed is deafening, and it tells us everything we need to know about the state of the National Prosecuting Authority. Why is a simple question about evidence so dangerous that it cannot be answered? What are they hiding? Who are they protecting? And more importantly, who exactly is running the show? This isn't just legal procedure, this is a gut check for our entire democracy, and the outcome is looking sickeningly familiar. Think about the name Johan Booysen for a second. A major general in the South African Police Service, the head of a unit that was notoriously effective and notoriously controversial. The Kato Mana Serious and Violent Crimes Unit, under Booysen, was accused of operating as a death squad, carrying out extrajudicial killings. Booysen himself was charged with murder, along with his subordinates, in a case that shocked the nation. But then, something happened. The case began to unravel. Prosecutors withdrew, evidence was questioned, and eventually, Booysen was not only cleared but painted as a target of a malicious prosecution. He claimed he was being punished for investigating high-level political corruption. His story became one of a whistleblower, a good cop targeted by a captured state. But now, Advocate Ngcukaitobi is dragging us back to the very beginning of that saga. He is forcing us to re-examine the moment the trigger was pulled on that prosecution. He is asking about Andrew Chauke, the then Director of Public Prosecutions in KZN, who authorized those murder charges. The NPA later suspended Chauke on unrelated allegations, but here's the critical pivot. Ngcukaitobi is demanding to know if Chauke's initial decision, based on the docket in front of him, was legally sound. Was there, in fact, enough evidence to prosecute Booysen for murder? This is a legal question with nuclear political fallout. If Batohi says yes, there was sufficient evidence, then the entire narrative around Booysen shifts seismically. It means the prosecution wasn't necessarily malicious, it was perhaps a legitimate, evidence-driven attempt to hold a powerful policeman to account. It throws the good cop versus a captured state story into serious doubt. It means the NPA's later retreat from the case might look less like correcting an error and more like caving to pressure. But if Batohi says no, there was not sufficient evidence, then she condemns her own suspended colleague, Andrew Chauke, for a grievous professional error, for pursuing a prosecution that should never have seen the light of day. It validates Booysen's claims of persecution. So, why won't she answer? What is more terrifying for the head of the NPA, admitting that a major prosecution was baseless, or admitting that it was solid and was then abandoned for other reasons? The space between that rock and that hard place is where the truth has gone to die. And Ngcukaitobi knows it. He is not asking for a legal thesis, he is asking for accountability. He is essentially saying to Batohi, you are the boss. The buck stops with you. Either your prosecutor had the evidence, or he didn't. Which one is it? The people of South Africa deserve to know what standard of evidence is being used to charge, or not charge, their most powerful officials. This strikes at the heart of the NPA's credibility crisis. For years, we have watched as cases against the politically connected evaporate, get postponed, or are handled with kid gloves. We have seen a pattern of inaction that has fueled public despair. And here, in the Booysen case, we have a perfect microcosm of that entire disease. A case involving alleged police death squads, high-stakes politics, and a prosecuting authority that seems to speak in circles. The public's trust is not just cracked, it is shattered. And every time a direct question is met with evasion, those shards are ground into dust. Think about the sheer power of a direct answer in this context. It would be a landmark moment of clarity. It would force a line to be drawn in the sand. It would tell us that the NPA is capable of self-reflection and transparent accountability. But the refusal to answer? That tells us that the institution is still paralyzed, still looking over its shoulder, still more concerned with internal politics and external pressures than with the blunt, messy truth. It tells us that the shadows still hold more sway than the law. So, what do you think Batohi is so afraid of? Is she afraid of the pro-Booysen lobby, which includes powerful voices who have championed his cause? Or is she afraid of the implications of condemning a decision made within her own organization, potentially opening the door to a flood of uncomfortable questions about other cases? Or is it something else entirely, a fear that the answer will reveal that the evidence was always there, but the will to see it through was not? Let me ask you, the viewer, a simple question. In your opinion, what does this prolonged silence from the NPA's leadership most likely signify? Cowardice, complicity, or sheer bureaucratic ineptitude? Drop your one-word answer in the comments below. Now, consider the timing of Ngcukaitobi's challenge. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. It comes amidst other high-profile failures to prosecute. It comes when the public's patience has worn tissue thin. He is leveraging public outrage, using it as a crowbar to try and pry open a sealed vault of information. He knows that in the court of public opinion, silence is a guilty plea, and he is banking on that anger to force a reaction. This is a strategic move, not just a legal one. He is putting Batohi in a position where her continued silence becomes itself a scandal. Every day she does not answer, the question grows louder. Every interview she gives where this is not addressed, her credibility diminishes. It is a masterful, and brutally effective, form of pressure. But will it work? Can public shame compel a state institution to be honest? Our history suggests it is a long, hard road. We have seen this movie before. A brave advocate asks the hard questions, the media picks it up, there is a public outcry, and then, nothing. The news cycle moves on. The powerful retreat into their fortresses of procedure and protocol, and the door slams shut again. This cannot be another one of those moments. This cannot be allowed to fade away. This question must be answered. Which brings me to another question for you. If you were Shamila Batohi, facing this public, direct challenge, what would you lose by giving a straight answer? What is the calculated risk she is making by staying silent? Let's talk about Andrew Chauke for a moment. A suspended official, now at the center of this storm. If Batohi says he had no evidence, she effectively ends his career and vindicates Booysen completely. If she says he did have evidence, she rehabilitates his professional judgment, even if he faces other issues. But his suspension hangs over this like a specter. Does it make him an easy scapegoat? Or does it make his initial decision seem more suspicious? The intertwining of his suspension with this core question of evidence is a toxic knot, and Batohi seems unwilling to cut it. Perhaps that's the real issue. Untangling this knot might pull a thread that unravels something much, much bigger. Perhaps the evidence in the Booysen docket points fingers in directions the NPA is still not ready to confront. Perhaps it connects to other, unprosecuted crimes. Perhaps the case is not just about a police unit, but about who gave them their orders, and who looked the other way. Speculation, of course. But in the absence of answers, speculation is the only currency we have. And that is a devastating indictment of transparency. We are left to guess, to the rise, to get angry in the comment sections, while those in power remain mute. It is an insult to every citizen who believes in justice. So, I want you to imagine the file. Imagine the docket that Andrew Chauke reviewed. Picture it on his desk. Photographs, witness statements, ballistics reports, post-mortem findings. A stack of paper that held the potential to convict a major general of murder. Was that stack thick with proof, or was it hollow? One man, Chauke, looked at it and said, "Yes, this is enough to go to court." The system later seemed to say, "No, it is not." Who was right? The legal principle is supposed to be clear: you prosecute if there is a reasonable prospect of success. It's not a guarantee of a win, but a belief that the evidence can sustain a case. Did Chauke have that? It's a professional judgment call. But when such a judgment call leads to the prosecution of a senior police official for murder, the public has every right to know if that call was right or wrong. The cost of getting it wrong is not just a lost case, it is the complete erosion of trust in both the police and the prosecutors. It leaves us in a state of perpetual doubt. Do we believe the cop who says he was framed, or do we believe the prosecutor who says he had the evidence? And when the system refuses to tell us who to believe, we are left believing in nothing at all. This is the corrosive effect of evasion. It doesn't just hide a single truth, it destroys the very foundation upon which truth is supposed to stand. It makes every past verdict feel uncertain and every future prosecution seem suspect. It tells the powerful they can outlast the storm, and it tells the public that their storms of outrage are just weather, nothing more. That is why Ngcukaitobi's challenge is so vital. He is refusing to let this become just another forgotten squall. He is anchoring it to a single, immutable question that requires a single, immutable word: yes or no. The simplicity of it is its power. There is no room for "the matter is under consideration" or "processes are underway." Those are the phrases of delay. Those are the words that have killed accountability in this country for decades. He is demanding a conclusion. He is demanding that the chapter be read aloud, not left forever unfinished on the shelf. So, what happens next? Does Shamila Batohi rise to the challenge? Does she summon the courage that her position demands? Or does she continue to hide behind the immense, crumbling facade of the institution she leads? Her legacy, and the future of the NPA, may well hinge on this very moment. Will she be the one who finally brought clarity, or will she be another custodian of the fog? The ball is in her court. The eyes of the nation, thanks to Tembeka Ngcukaitobi, are watching, and they are blinking less and less. They are staring, waiting for a sign, a nod, a shake of the head, anything. But all they get is the faint hum of the air conditioner in a silent press briefing room. It is a sound that has become the soundtrack of our justice. Let me ask you one final thing, and I really want you to think about this before you answer in the comments. If you were in a courtroom, and the judge asked the prosecutor a direct question about the evidence, and the prosecutor just stood there silently, what would the judge do? He would hold her in contempt. He would demand an answer. So why do we, the people, not hold our public prosecutors to the same standard? Why do we accept their silence when the questions get too hard? The contempt we should feel is not just a legal term, it is a moral obligation. It is the fire we need to keep burning until we get the answers we deserve. This story is not over. It is a live wire, and every share of this video, every comment demanding accountability, turns up the voltage. So, tell me below, what do you believe was in that docket? Sufficient evidence, or a political hit? And what will you do now that you know the question has been asked, and is being met with nothing but a deafening, disgraceful silence? The time for watching quietly is over. The time for demanding answers has begun, and it starts with this one.